They were too strong today. We were not good enough. I said before, if we want to push the result on our side, we need to be in our best shape. This was not the case.
We are very pleased. Just 3 points, of course, but we cannot deny coming here for the Champions League winners, especially the way we played. The way we played was so good.
We played so good, yeah. Well, do you know what? Immediately you get the teams, because of what happened in the Champions League final, where they had no holding midfielder and there was a gap the size of Great Britain, wasn't there, in the middle of their midfield. You think, they're playing Rodri. I'm not saying he'd sort of learnt from losing the Champions League final, but it was logical to do that. So there was a balance about the team.
Bit more of a base. I mean, Don, we're watching that, and we said the same thing. City won that game out of possession. That's how they won the game, when they didn't have the ball, because they worked. That's the City that we expect to see every single week. Chelsea have been brilliant all season so far, but they came up against a side that when you receive or even before you receive the ball, they were there. You've got nowhere to go. It doesn't matter how good you are, if you're being pressed, it's going to be difficult to play.
I've heard some people over the weekend saying Chelsea played anti-football. Chelsea were really disappointing. Chelsea were poor. Man City didn't allow them. No. They didn't allow them into the game. There were so many times. Michael Owen was in doing the analysis when I was doing the comms on the game.
Look at the pressing here. We're showing people immediately on the press.
Look, it's not in ones, right?
No.
So it's threes and fours. So you pop the ball out wide into Reece James, there's 4 players. You find a little gap into Jorginho, 4 players. You switch it to Marcos Alonso, there's 3 players. That was the theme watching this game all afternoon. And I've got this. Go on, Dion.
No, so the key to that one as well is because you can see two, the far 2 blue shirts. You'll see them on the top of the screen. See, there's 2 there's the right back and the right full back there. The Man City players don't allow the Chelsea players to lift their head to play that cross-field pass because they're squeezing so much. So even though there's 2 players there, you haven't got time to lift your head up because before the ball arrives, you're being squeezed.
Do you know when the teams come in, you're always looking for a little bit of magic from Pep. You're always thinking, when the 11s come in, you think, right, is Jesus playing through the middle? Played on the right-hand side. That's pretty normal these days. Phil Foden played as the false 9. The genius move from Pep in this game, which I didn't see coming, he played Bernardo Silva as a double pivot alongside Rodri. And the amount of times, not very often, but when Chelsea had the ball in wide areas and they put balls in the 18-yard box, Bernardo Silva was in his own 18-yard box, headering balls away. And not just because of that reason. He used the ball, he was deep, so everything was in front of him. He could take players on in a central area, which you don't really see too much. And you come away from the game and you're thinking, right, who's your man of the match today? There was 4 or 5 players for Man City. Cancelo was incredible. Kyle Walker's levels are just amazing. Ruben Diaz was brilliant. Rodri was brilliant. Jesus was brilliant. Jack Grealish's performance was really good. But the standout player for me in the move was from Bernardo Silva.
And you know what, as well? It's credit to Thomas Tuchel as well, because Pep's had to think, how can we play against this side? Because Chelsea are getting that good that they've had to perform like that in order to get a result.
And as we said, Tuchel beat him 3 times in a row, and that would have irritated Pep.
Correct.
It was just a question, really, whether they could turn that superiority into a goal, which they could in the end. It takes a little bit of a nick off Jorginho, doesn't it? But listen, you've said it enough times. If you don't buy a ticket, you're never going to win the lottery.
It was inevitable, Mark. They were starting to create chances, and Chelsea were right on the back foot. There was an argument between Lukaku and Azpilicueta. It was a great shot. The 2 Chelsea players argued because they were so deep. Territorially, they pinned him back. And he was exceptional, Jesus. He's one of these players where I don't think he ever lets you down.
No.
He's never going to get 30 goals a season. He's just not that type of player. But you can never fault the job that he does.
Yeah,
he's
and the effort,
Yeah, he's one of them guys, Dion, that you give him instructions, he sacrifices himself, and he'll sacrifice all of his numbers to work hard, to be sharp when needed, to close the opposition down and get goals like he got.
And actually, he admitted in his interview afterwards, I heard on the radio, you know, I started as a winger and I've played in the middle. You know, I can play anywhere. And maybe, I think Pep once upon a time probably thought he was going to be Aguero's replacement through the middle. Yeah. But you've just said it. He's not going to score 30 goals a season now, so he knows what his contribution is and Pep knows what he can bring.
Some players like to face the goal. Some players like to face the goal. The game's a lot easier for them. I'm probably one of them where, you know, being a centre-back or a central midfield player or a number 10, when you've got the ball and the picture is all in front of you, your job is incredibly easier than when you've played as a 9 and played as a 9, where all of a sudden you're standing there and you're Lukaku and you've got Laporte and Diaz right at your backside and you've got a holding midfield player or 2 in front of you. The 9 is a completely different role to where Jesus is playing, and it suits him.
Yeah. They could have won by more, couldn't they? They really did have some opportunities. You said Grealish played well, was denied by Mendy. It was just a question of whether, having created so many chances, they were going to be a bit frustrated. In the end, they got over the line, but it could have been more.
Yeah, they need that ruthless streak back everywhere else.
Here we go. We're just talking about why he doesn't score 30 a season. That's why, isn't it?
That's a gimme for a centre forward. That's a gimme. Lukaku scores that.
Yeah.
Laporte there is stretching, he couldn't get on the end of that one. But they had lots of half-little chances. Jack Grealish, look at number 10, Jack Grealish, in that little area there. Really, Jack should be scoring.
Yeah, he's not very convincing there, is he, Grealish?
And that's the ruthless edge to Man City that we know they have. And once they get that back, with that squeezing and that organisation...
That was easily their best performance of the season.
Without a doubt.
You know, they've done Arsenal 5, and they've done Norwich 5. Every now and again, Mark, pros will tell you, and I'm pretty sure Dion will agree, you need a big game. You need a big game. You need a Chelsea-Man City where there's no real team talk from the manager, even though... You don't need it because the adrenaline's in you, and your personal pride is telling you, I need to perform today.
Well, especially as they drew with Southampton last week. There's not much margin for error. Talking of which, from Chelsea's point of view, no panic. I would say to you that Chelsea, these two, plus Liverpool, possibly Man United, we'll get to them. They are so closely matched. You're going to get results like this where one of them loses at home. It doesn't mean they've had a nightmare and they're out the race or anything. It's just, you're going to have these results, aren't you?
It is what it is. And what's going to happen, I think that might be a bit of a theme this season. We might see, because the next game in the Premier League is Liverpool-Man City.
Yeah, exactly.
So that could be anything, whichever side of the fence you see it. And there's going to be so many big games involved in the top 4 that they might just take points off each other.
Almost, not entirely, where almost home advantage won't be an advantage, particularly because they all fancy themselves to it. I know the crowd would be, but, you know, you're not going to feel, if you're City, we're going to Stamford Bridge. You just think, we're playing Chelsea. Just happens to be at Chelsea.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter.
No.
They're so close, you're right, they're so close. But it's going to take performances like that to get to earn all 3 points.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, there has been a lot of talk about Manchester City's press at Stamford Bridge. But, Martin, you've been looking at what's happening behind that. Yeah, they covered it beautifully last night with the press. But for me, it's really important because they were brave. They go and press stop it at source, but it's what's happening behind, basically leaving 2v2 at the back against those real speed merchants, Lukaku and Werner. But Rodri, that position, didn't play in the Champions League, if you remember. And I felt for him, it was the wrong move. But in this game here, it was brilliant. He's like the night watchman, just puts out all the fires, and then they can go and they can play their wonderful football as they have. They've got magicians with the ball. He had all their top passers of the ball, all the game controllers, I like to call. Grealish particularly was magnificent. But this fella, this occasion, you can see Bernardo Silva was brilliant again. Let's leave them 2v2 at the back, and that's a big call. And he realises he doesn't have to sit there now. He can come out. He can come out and deal with the danger and shut the door again, and then they go and mount another attack. Here he comes across, slides across, wins it, powerful, strong, and then puts them on another attack. And that was really important. I think Guardiola, particularly tactically, and they're really good tacticians, both managers. He knew now he had to respect this, because it just starts waves of attacks. He's put them on the run again here. This is another opportunity here. Comes out to Jesus. It's a clearance off the line. Could have been another goal, but it all happened because Rodri started the move. And he sits there again, look, he comes across, nice and solid, and deals with it. The manager knows the importance of it, and he's out applauding him. Yeah. And you've got to have that balance, and that's what they had yesterday. Yeah, he's loving it, Pep. And in a way, there's a fascinating coaching duel happening between Pep and Tuchel, isn't there?
Well, I think there is a well-known kind of respect between the two managers. And what I kind of find quite interesting about it is we saw in the Champions League final kind of that, I suppose, impact of Thomas Tuchel on Pep Guardiola with regards to how much he changed his system, didn't play, as you said, Rodri or Fernandinho in that final, and then we saw the impact of that. And then, obviously, we're looking at Chelsea now as, you know, not talked about favourites for the title, but it's Tuchel that's kind of flinched first. He's the one that's changed his formation. They're usually kind of with the 3 at the back, they'll go with the 2 in midfield and then the 3 up top. But yesterday, you know, he packed out his midfield, you know, with those 3 individuals of Kovacic, Kante and Jorginho, thinking, right, I need bodies in there to dictate this game. And then Pep kind of won that battle. by kind of thinking, thinking ahead, and as Martin's just shown, having Rodri in that deeper role to control the counter-attack, and they couldn't get out, they couldn't play any kind of like long balls or anything dangerous into Lukaku, and it was like, well, that tactical thing is going to be brilliant to watch over many years, hopefully.
But psychologically, they needed to strike back, City, because they lost their Champions League. They thought they were going to win that, moving towards that. Tuchel only there 6 months, snatched that away. And I think yesterday was saying, we're coming to take your title away. And City said, no, that doesn't happen. And the way that he took the game to Chelsea yesterday was quite brilliant. Mason Mount wasn't available, so he kind of tried to match up in that midfield, but he had all those footballers in there. And last year, I think when they went into that trilogy, semi-final where they lost, they made 8 changes, they're 9 in the league, they lost the Champions League, they lost that belief that they could beat Chelsea. But now they've put the fire out now. They're really back in prime position again.
Yep, fascinating. OK, time for the rest of the Premier League goals and